Here on today's channel, bringing you the first Diablo Immortal video on the channel. Now, I plan on doing daily content up until the release of Diablo Immortal on June 2nd and grinding extremely hard once it actually launches with some of the other content creators in the raid atmosphere, like Chosen and Darth Micro. But today's video, we're going to be going over the most important decision before Diablo Immortal launches, and that is, of course, picking out what class you actually want to play on launch. So I've done a ton of research and I've spoken with other content creators on each of the classes in order to decide who I'll be playing, and you're here to benefit from all that research. So we're going to be going over some of the pros and cons of each class, sharing gameplay, and of course, how many people will be playing all the class, how popular it is. So let's not waste any more time and get right into it, starting with the Barbarian. So starting off with the Barbarian, this guy is your go-to in-your-face class. You'll be oftentimes leading the charge into large groups of enemies with quick movement speed that you can actually share with your allies, massive AoE skills, tons of spinning, and tons of CC. The common perception is that this class will probably be the most popular on release of the game. It looks like it was beforehand in some of the betas and things like that. So if you are seeing a bunch of Barbarians and that bothers you, you may want to skip over this class. But you will definitely not have any problems getting through the game solo or within a group content due to the solid damage as well as group buffs that you're going to get from Barbarian. Don't get too cocky while leveling up, though, when you're playing the Barbarian, because once you start getting into the more endgame content, you're going to start getting to some more difficult parts where you're going to start to feel some of those longer cooldowns that the Barbarian has, and you're going to have some difficulty in navigating some of the group fights since you'll be in the thick of things. So the signature skill of the Crusader is its Celestial Horse. This one skill makes the class and will honestly decide whether or not you play or not play this class. This means that the Crusader has high mobility while also dealing a ton of AoE both on and off the horse. Not only is the Crusader able to do a solid amount of damage, but you will be very attractive to any group looking to support their squad with a ton of buffs and CC. Now, although the Crusader is melee, they actually have a lot more ways to survive than the Barbarian due to some defensive skills available to them. Now, because the horse makes the Crusader, that also means that it is the downside, or it will break the Crusader. You could be CC'd off of the horse, so that is pretty rough, as well as it having a very large cooldown. So without access to Draw and Quarter or the horse, you'll be lacking in mobility, survivability, and damage. You'll be fine as a solo player, but you might have some trouble in some single target fights as the Crusader. So here is your glass cannon. If you want to deal damage, you're going to want to play the Demon Hunter. The Demon Hunter is going to have the best single target damage in the game. This makes it one of the more popular classes in the game, both for excellent solo and group play due to making runs significantly faster just because of the massive damage that you'll be dealing out. You'll be running around the map, running and shooting everywhere. They actually have a decent amount of AoE, melting through both single target and groups alike due to their ability to use multiple skills while moving, including their premier ability, Multi-Shot. The Demon Hunter can also stay alive through its natural space due to its range and the ability to dodge enemy abilities. With all of its damage, though, the Demon Hunter is unfortunately oftentimes a one-trick. You'll be doing a lot of damage, but that's pretty much all you'll be doing. You'll have next to no CC, you'll have low mobility, despite the fact that you can actually move and shoot. You'll be very squishy. So make sure that you want to see big numbers, because that is the main enjoyment of the Demon Hunter. So the Monk here is probably the least popular class, but it is not to be underestimated. This fast-paced melee fighter will be hopping in and out of battle with the short cooldowns the Monk actually has, with constant skills going off. It is a melee class that can actually combo the abilities together with the correct sequences for big, huge payoffs. And a lot of these abilities are also stacked with AoE, so you can clear through large groups with properly timed skills. And not only does the Monk boast short cooldowns, but as I mentioned, you'll be jumping in and out of fights with a ton of mobility to engage or just escape battles easily. They also have a lot of supporting potential, honestly, allowing them to take supporting abilities for extra viability in group settings, or just have, if you want to, run a full DPS monk and just have fun. These strengths can be also large negatives, however, because they've got short cooldowns and because they've got sequencing abilities. You'll have to make sure that you're very active when you're playing this class, and you'll have to have very input intensive actions, as well as making sure you're matching all those buttons to make sure you're getting the maximum value out of the monk. So the Necromancer here is going to be your premier solo class. You're going to be summoning in minions to do a lot of your work. It's one of the reasons why the class is so good for solo play is those summoning minions. You'll have solid survivability, good CC, and very good damage in order to crush your enemies. And if you do want to play in group settings, be sure that Necromancer is no slouch in group content. The class offers a ton of support to groups. Summoning and commanding minions here is going to be the main appeal of this class, however. So if you are interested in playing the Necromancer, make sure that's something you want to do. And it's often one of the more popular and sought after classes. But in order to get the biggest payoffs as a Necromancer, you'll generally have to play in short range of the enemies, causing a high risk, high reward playstyle. Along with this, you'll have very little mobility to take advantage of, so you'll be mostly focusing on your minions. So last but certainly not least, we have the Wizard. So if you like comboing spells together from a large range for maximum effectiveness, the class will definitely pique your interest. The Wizard boasts mass amounts of CC as well as AoE abilities, making it easy to clear out large groups of enemies as long as you're able to correctly sequence your abilities. The Wizard will most likely be a class found few and far between, as it requires a specific player to enjoy, while you're able to play at range and annihilate people with your spell combos. Make no mistake, the Wizard can also teleport in and out of combat with their premier ability, Teleport. However, skill shot based spells and longer cooldowns means that missing your spells will be devastating. Adding to that, with hardly any group buffs, if you miss your spells, you're dead in the water. So that wraps up the 6 classes in Diablo Immortal. Let me know what class you'll be interested in starting on June 2nd in the comments down below. Subscribe and hit the like button if you enjoyed for more Diablo Immortal content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.